Could this be the season of the Republican discontent? The GOP has to deal with Donald Trump, we know that, and all the crazy comments, and now it could be looking at yet another government shutdown. I'm not making this up. Congress back in D.C. today, and the right wing of the GOP threatening to refuse votes on spending bills that provide funding to Planned Parenthood. They say that's enough to shut the whole thing down. It's the same strategy they used a couple of years ago, as you remember, when they wanted to defund Obamacare, and they wound up shutting down the entire government because they didn't get their way. And if that's not enough to worry about, the summer of Trump, it is only beginning. Now, for the first time, Donald Trump is getting 30% nationally, at least according to a new Monmouth poll. It appears that Donald is not going away. But there is talk in the party of trying to make him go away. Times saying donors and operatives are scheming to get together and finding a way here to down Trump. They're even considering forming a super PAC to raise money and use it against him. So again, here's the bigger issue here as they come back in D.C. this September. The biggest concern for the Grand Old Party, they look at Trump as, a summer fling that the public will tire of, or is he there for the long haul, versus members of the party. And Andrew, it's not just that they're willing to withhold votes here and even do shutdown. There is loud talk they're going to challenge Boehner again, and no matter what, he's not going to stay on as speaker here. So they're ready to go for leadership strikes in both chambers.
I think that all of those different elements are really the same argument, which is a question as to whether Republicans can govern. They can campaign very well and have been, but the question is, can they actually govern? And the fact that there could be another government shutdown would speak to an inability to govern. If there's a food fight within the party in the House and Boehner gets booted or Boehner feels like his job's threatened, that's an inability to govern. They can't get anything done with the president, that's an inability to govern. And their voters, their base, is rejecting all of that by turning to Donald Trump, which is the manifestation, the personification of inability to govern. None of the people who have been elected to anything can do anything, so we're going to throw our support to Donald Trump and Ben Carson and Carly Fiorina because they've never been elected to anything.
Yeah, I think this just speeds up the process of more people moving towards Trump. I hate to continue to agree with Andrew twice today, which is so far a world record.
Yeah.
But I see this playing into Trump's hands in a big way. This is what it's all about. People are becoming an activists, and they're saying, you know what? Forget government.
But what do they want?
Forget what. This is just all about the distaste for government,
and
the dislike of
voicing
all
their anger, and somebody who shows their anger.
Everyone's an activist now. Everyone wants to do away with all the politicians. Let's get Trump. He's been successful. Let him lead the way. I trust him.
They're saying
he's very
that,
powerful.
not you, right?
Yes, I'm speaking for the rest of this country.
Just check.
Really, that 30%, actually.
He always speaks for America. So, Didi, every time, though, that there's been a shutdown, or even the threat of shutdowns, we have seen instantaneously in the next snap poll, somebody gets blamed for it. You would think, whether you like Boehner, don't like Boehner, he's done the standoff before, and he always promised never again we're going to do this. If they follow through with even the threat of going to the cliff to shut the government down all over again, there's going to be a consequence, right? I mean, there has to be a carryover to this. I know we're still in, more than a year from the general and all the rest, but how many times you have to play with fire before you realize you're going to get burned?
I mean, this is the last thing, obviously, that Boehner wants or that the Republican establishment wants. And if the government shuts down at the hands of the Republicans, obviously President Obama and the Democrats are going to win that. And so this is a big problem for the establishment. But what I really think is going on here is not so much can the Republicans govern, but can they figure out who they are going forward. They are so disintegrated at this point. You see 17 viable candidates out there. They don't know who they are going forward. Their base is not with them. Their elites are somewhere else. And so they can't move forward.
But can you do that when there's a primary going on, a viable primary going on? Can you do it?
They have no choice. And it's also a danger, by the way, for the Democrats, and I'll tell you why, because Democrats sense blood in the water. So you see the very liberal Democrats saying, hey, we're the majority party. We can go as far left as we want to. We can go with Bernie Sanders, who, by the way, everybody has no hope of winning. We can go with him because we're the majority party, and we can still win with that message. So it's a danger everywhere, and that's what I think is going on here. And it's going to be bad for the Republicans, who have very little chance of winning nationally, and it's going to be bad for the Democrats as well, who are going to run to the left and not be able to nominate somebody like a Bernie Sanders, but probably in the end get somebody like a Hillary Clinton or a Joe Biden. And you know, the losers are the American public. They're frustrated with government, they're frustrated with Congress, and they're going to get the same thing. Donald Trump is not going to be either the nominee of the Republican Party or president of the United States. It's just not possible historically.
You heard it, Dominic.
Put it on record, Richard.
I know you say it's
disagrees
a
with
silly
me, but
season
I
and
know.
all the rest, but isn't there a
I'll
point
arm wrestle you.
where,
I lose, Professor.
where the anger burns out a little bit, and then you got to say, what do I really want here?
As far as Trump?
Yeah.
Well, Richard, you already know what I'm going to say.
No, but don't you think
can
there's a
count it
certain
down
point-
from 3, 2, 1.
We showed the poll numbers last week. At this same time,
I know,
you
Richard.
know,
but
4,
I'm-
8,
okay,
12,
okay, I will
16
go on
years
the
ago,
record.
guys
I-
like
I
Rick
will go on the
Perry,
record.
Joe Lieberman were up by double digits
I
in
will
their
go on the
prime.
record. This race may be over before it even starts. You might be looking at Donald Trump as the Republican nominee.
No way.
You might
Oh,
be looking
no
as
way.
Donald Trump as the Republican nominee.
That was a professional hedge, by the way. You might be looking.
Then you need to get your eyes checked if that's what you're seeing, because
Okay,
that
well,
ain't happening.
Historically, where would we see the evidence of that?
Well, Professor, you, as always, are
there-
1,000% correct.
Oh, God.
However,
got hip waders
Richard,
on here,
Richard,
yeah.
I want you to think about this. Think about this
But
for a
you're
second.
dead wrong, is what he said.
No. But think about this for a second. Think about this for a second. Mr. Trump, who's da 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 da? I don't know, but that's a got you question, and the public goes for it. I'm telling you, the
But isn't there a
discontent.
difference with going for it in September
Yes.
than there is a difference going
But
for it in
Richard, but what
February,
I'm trying
March?
to explain to you is that the momentum is going his way so much that once he's steamrolling, I'm telling you, there may be no ground to stop this guy. And
I
for
agree,
the party,
Dominic. You know why? Because
Well,
it's
I
like
know
a
why you
boxing
agree.
match.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, because it's like a boxing match. You know what? Before you turn around, you're in the 7th round and you've won
Yes.
7 rounds, and
Yes.
they're like, you know, the other guys can't turn it on now, and then a decision is actually, you know, beyond
Okay,
reach.
boys,
And you
let me
need a
ask you a
knockout to
question.
win,
Let me
and
ask
no
you a
one seems to be able to
question.
knock out
Okay.
Donald Trump.
Okay, both of you, let me ask you a question. I've had enough of this. In order to win, you need delegates.
Yes.
What delegates is he going to win beyond Iowa and New Hampshire? What delegates? Brad?
I believe he will go around and start and win because the people
Win
want.
what? You're
People
like
want.
Trump.
He
He's
got
just
Trump
going
in
to
him.
win. He's going to win everything.
Because I want to make
because
America great, G. That's
He is
right.
going to
Win
convince
what,
the
Brad,
people.
specifically?
The delegates have to respond to the people, and they're going to have to respond.
It's not
He's
like
got
a
to
boxing
win
match.
delegates. It's a numbers game. And the Republicans don't have the numbers, and Trump doesn't have the numbers within the party to win. If you look historically, the establishment dictates. I'm not saying I wish it was true, but that's historically. You think things have changed so much in 2015
But what
that
else
that's
is
not
playing
true?
playing in his favor is the fact that there's so many of them out there. And I know it will be
Yeah.
reduced.
Yeah.
But that sends
But
the
you
votes
can't tell
all
me
over the
where-
place.
what delegates he's gonna win.
He is going to be the
What
nominee.
states?
I don't know how he's. I don't know how he can
But
be.
if you were-
How can you point? How do you
If
have
you were
any
the
facts that would
campaign manager-
indicate in any way
as
that
you
he
know,
could
it's not winner
be
take
the?
all anymore. So
No.
it's
Right, it's
broken
not
down
winner
so
take
that
all.
he will pick up some
Unfortunately.
delegates,
He'll get
assuming
some
that he gets
delegates,
some
but
votes.
enough
But
to win.
This is
Highly
September
unlikely,
8th. If we're having this
historically.
conversation on January 8th, it's a different environment.
Got to admit, though, I'll be the first to admit I felt the same way. When I thought that crackpot over there was saying he's for real
you.
in July, I'm like, yeah, give it a month.
that's because-
in August, I said, all right, now it's September. I know we got a long, long way to go. The numbers you broke out last week, empirical evidence that people change their minds at this date in history. But I'm looking at the rest of the field. Bush looks like he's in a coma.
oh,
And
the
I'm like,
rest of
who
the field.
exactly is going to...
And they'll
the rest
settle
of the
on
field.
somebody other than Trump. Look, you're not wrong. He has
You're
exceeded.
right,
Trump has
Andrew.
exceeded all of our expectations so far.
Oh,
primarily-
all of our expectations?
Andrew, you're wrong.
Primarily,
I'm glad I finally brought it-
primarily for two reasons. One, because we've seen Trump flirt with the race before and never get in it, so we didn't actually think he would run it.
But he
Two,
did.
because we all have some experience with
different
politics,
environment
and
now
we didn't think there's
also.
any possible way he would.
But also the establishment,
But
the
here's what I'm saying.
establishment will get on board.
We will continue to debate the Donald and the Breaker, but in the meantime, I want you to get involved in the conversation, both on Facebook and Twitter. Here as Dominic spits his coffee, assuming that's coffee. Here's the question: what's the biggest worry for the GOP right now? Is it Trump, or this talk of this maniacal shutdown here? What is going to be a bigger problem for them going forward? All right, when we come back, everything isn't hunky-dory for Democrats either. That's right, Joe Biden, walking, jogging, some combination of the two, wherever he goes, He's got cheering crowds for him, and they're cheering Run, Joe, Run. Why the push for Biden to get in tells us maybe more about Hillary Clinton right now than the vice president.